Welcome to MSP lecture series on main group chemistry. In my previous lecture, I was discussing about the utility of magnesium oxide as refractory material. Today, let me continue discussing the utility of main group elements and their compounds. Let me first consider calcium chloride. Okay, calcium chloride is used in cold countries for de-icing and dust control. To maintain very effective de-icing at temperature as low as 222 Kelvin or minus 51 degree centigrade, one can use conveniently calcium chloride. And also the other important use of calcium chloride is in dust control. In cold countries, approximately, especially in United States of America and Canada, approximately 30% of the calcium chloride manufactured is used for de-icing of roads and public walkways, and sometimes it is also mixed with a small quantity of sodium chloride. Anhydrous calcium chloride takes up water in an exothermic manner. The heat evolved during hydration melts surrounding ice and is sufficient to maintain effective de-icing action at temperature as low as minus 51 degree centigrade. The second major application of calcium chloride is in dust control. Again, this application relies on the ability of anhydrous calcium chloride to absorb water, this time from atmosphere. So, addition of anhydrous calcium chloride to dry road surfaces and hard shoulders provides a means of trapping water, helping to aggregate the dust particles. So, now let us look into other utilities. Let us consider gypsum plasters. In fact, gypsum has a long history. The earliest known use of gypsum plaster was in Anatolia, that is a part of Turkey, and Syria in about 6000 BC. And in about 3700 BC, Egyptians used gypsum plaster inside the pyramids. At present, the building industry is the major consumer of gypsum plaster, and gypsum is nothing but calcium sulfate 2H2O. It is mined on a large scale worldwide and it is calcined to form beta hemihydrate. That means essentially when you take calcium sulfate 2H2O, that is gypsum, and if you heat it to 150 degree centigrade, it forms a hemihydrate having half equivalent of water. So, that is gypsum. So, here this gives okay. So, of course, plus 3/2 water comes out. So, this is called plaster of Paris. So, hydration of the hemihydrate with a carefully controlled amount of water initially gives a slurry which hardens as calcium sulfate 2H2O again. That means this one has a affinity for taking water to go back to gypsum form. So, this is what is being exploited in making a slurry and molding it to required shape. Crystals are needle like and it is their inner growth or intergrowth that provides gypsum with its strength and suitability for the building trade. Calcined gypsum which is stored for the rehydration process. So, that means calcined gypsum, the plaster of Paris, it has to be kept away from moisture as it is highly hygroscopic. The setting process of gypsum plaster may be accelerated or slowed down by a suitable additive. So, in this case essentially one can add up to 0.1% of citric acid that is sufficient to retard the crystallization process or slow down the crystallization process. Gypsum plasters suitable for applying to walls have been developed, so that additives are already present with the hemihydrate. Okay. So, building contractors commonly use prefabricated gypsum plaster boards and tiles, and plaster boards are fabricated by pouring a hemihydrate water additive slurry onto cardboard sheets of approximately 0.5 mm thickness. After completing the lamination by applying a second sheet of cardboard, the plaster board is dried and it can be used for further application in residential construction and other aspects. The incorporation of fiberglass into plaster boards is also possible, giving fiber board products. An advantage of gypsum plaster boards as partition walls is essentially due to their very effective fire resistance. In 2000, 108 megatons of gypsum was produced worldwide, and it was almost 1000 metric ton in 2016. That indicates the extensive use of these plaster boards in construction. Within the US itself, okay, in 2000, 22.9 metric tons of prefabricated gypsum products were sold or used, and this is how plaster of Paris, that is calcium sulphate hemihydrate, looks like. And from this one, with proper methodology, one can make into small tiles, or one can also make sheets of this type, and they can be used as partition walls. The major utility of this one comes because of their resistance for temperature. And of course, besides this, many of these group 2 elements and their compounds are used as agents for drying or pre-drying solvents, organic solvents, drying agents that react irreversibly with water, drying agents for use in desiccators and drying tubes. That means, here we come across 2 types of drying agents. Some of them react reversibly with water and some of them react irreversibly with water, and those which are reacting reversibly with water can be used in desiccators and drying tubes, so that we can reuse them after removal of water by heating to higher temperature. Okay. And let us look into both drying and pre-drying solvents. Typically, anhydrous salts that absorb water as solvate are suitable for removing water from solvents. In organic solvents, if we have moisture is there, in order to distill and make pure anhydrous dry solvents, one has to use some of these water absorbing materials or drying agents. So, here this comes very handy. Anhydrous salts such as magnesium sulphate, calcium chloride, calcium sulphate, sodium sulphate and potassium carbonate are hygroscopic. So, among these, calcium sulphate and magnesium sulphate are particularly efficient and can be used as inert drying agents. And drying agents that react irreversibly with water are, for example, calcium hydride, and as such sodium, lithium aluminum hydride. So, you cannot recover them because they react with water to give some other product. Already you know what is going to happen when you treat calcium with water or calcium hydride with water. If trace amount of moisture is there, conveniently sodium or calcium can be used. Sodium, essentially used as a wire, is extremely efficient because of larger surface for removal of water from hydrocarbons or ethers, but reacts with, for example, alcohols, and certainly it is not suitable for drying halogenated organic solvents. One should not use in drying halogenated or chlorinated organic solvents. So, some of the compounds are also used as drying agents in desiccators and drying tubes, which are calcium chloride, calcium sulphate, potassium hydroxide and phosphorus pentoxide. Gases may be dried by a passage of the gas to be purified or dried through drying tubes packed with some of these reagents in the form of pellets. But possible reaction of the gas with the drying agent must be considered. So, when we are passing some gas for drying, we should ensure that the gas which is reacting with any of this should not be used. Okay. So, then there we have to use some other drying agents. Although P2O5, phosphorus pentoxide, is a common choice for use in desiccators, reaction with water results in the formation of a brown viscous layer on the surface of anhydrous powder. So, that essentially curtails its dehydrating ability, and also sometime what happens because of this thick layer of viscous mass that is generated, inside still active P2O5 is there. One has to be extremely careful while disposing, because P2O5 can violently react with water to form phosphoric acid. I would be giving you more details while discussing chemistry of group 15 elements. And of course, in firework and flares, alkaline earth metals are used, and fireworks use exothermic reactions to produce heat, light and sound. Common oxidants are nitrates and perchlorates, which essentially decompose when heating to liberate oxygen. And special effects such as colors, flashes, smoke and noises are provided by additives to the firework mixture. The group 2 elements are used in fireworks to provide color. We know they give characteristic color. Barium compounds are added to fireworks to produce green flames, apple green flames. The species responsible for the color is essentially BaCl plus, okay, which is produced when Ba2 plus ion combines with Cl minus. Okay. The Cl minus ions are produced during decomposition of perchlorate oxidant or during combustion of the PVC fuel, polyvinyl chloride fuel. So, here KClO4 solid gives KCl plus 2O2, and KCl gives K plus Cl minus, Ba2 plus gives plus Cl minus gives BaCl minus BaCl plus, okay. And also in some cases barium chlorate is also used. Barium chlorate is BaClO3 2 minus, okay, in place of potassium perchlorate. Okay. So, this is about the application of alkaline earth metals in fireworks. Okay. Similarly, strontium nitrate and carbonate are used to produce red color on formation of strontium. If you want to give red color, one should use strontium, and essentially here similar to that one barium chloride. So, it forms strontium chloride plus. Strontium chlorate and perchlorate are effective in producing red color. Magnesium is also added to firework and flares to maximize the light output. Since magnesium produces an intense white light, illumination is increased by the incandescence of high temperature magnesium oxide particles produced in the oxidation reaction. That means, here whatever the oxygen that is produced in an exothermic reaction can react with magnesium to form a magnesium oxide, that is also highly exothermic, that gives white light. So, let us look into some questions on main group elements and their compounds. I have given a question here, you can read it. A group 2 metal M dissolves in liquid ammonia. Okay. A group 2 metal M dissolves in liquid ammonia to form a compound A. Okay. A slowly decomposes to B with the liberation of 3 plus C, a gas, and metal M gives crimson flame test. If you do flame test, it gives crimson color. Okay. So, now suggest identify M, A, B and C. Let me read out the question again. a group 2 metal M dissolves in liquid ammonia, and from the solution compound A can be isolated. A slowly decomposes to B with liberation of NH3, and a gas C, metal M gives a crimson flame test through blue glass. The flame appears pale purple. Suggest identities for M, A, B and C, that means find out M, A, B and C. Okay. So, let us solve this one. It is a very simple question. Of course, by looking to the flame test one should be able to tell what it is. First let us write M. So, when we put ammonia, liquid ammonia, it should form, because this is from group 2, so this let us consider this as A. Okay. So, A slowly decomposes to B plus ammonia plus gas comes. So, here it is M NH2 twice, okay, plus 4 NH3 and plus H2. Okay. So, here this is similar to sodium amide NaNH2, here divalent. So, MnH2 plus 2 will come. So, here of course, flame test clearly indicates that this is strontium. So, M is strontium and this is the complex. Complex will be A is hexamine strontium complex. Two plus and then B is this amide complex, neutral compound, because NH2 minus is there, and C is obviously hydrogen. Okay. So, this is the answer for this question. So, there is one more question, very similar one. Group 2 metal occurs, group 2 metal X occurs naturally in great abundance as the carbonate. Metal X reacts with cold water forming compound D, which is a strong base. Aqueous solution of D is used in qualitative test for carbon dioxide. X combines with hydrogen to give a saline hydrate that is used as a drying agent. So, identify X and D. We should find out what is X, what is the group 2 metal and what is D. Okay. So, let us consider this is XCO3. Okay. We have to find out what is X, it is an alkali metal. So, X plus H2O initially gives XO plus H2, and of course, XO with another molecule of water, it forms hydroxide. Okay. And this hydroxide reacts with CO2 to give XCO3 back plus H2O. Okay. So, X plus H2 gives XH2. Okay. So, it is completed now. Obviously, this is X is calcium here. Okay. X is calcium and D is this one D is calcium hydroxide. Okay. So, this is the answer for this question. So, let us look into a couple of more questions here. I have given a list of alkaline earth metal salts, various salts. Okay. Which of the following compounds are sparingly soluble in water, which are soluble without reaction and which react with water? Barium sulfate, calcium oxide, magnesium carbonate, magnesium hydroxide, strontium hydrate, beryllium chloride, magnesium perchlorate, calcium fluoride, barium chloride and calcium nitrate. The next one is for the compounds that react with water, what are the products formed? If at all if they are reacting with water, you have to write the product. That means using a balanced chemical equation represent that one, the interaction of those salts with water. Okay. So, here one can simply say sparingly soluble or insoluble ones are sparingly soluble. Ones are essentially heavier alkaline earth metal salts, BaSO4, magnesium carbonate, magnesium hydroxide and calcium fluoride. Okay. Soluble, no reaction. Some of them are soluble, but they do not react, they will simply ionize, or they form aqua compound, coordination compounds, or BeCl2. So, it forms hexa aqua, this forms beryllium forms tetra aqua compound, magnesium also forms tetra aqua compound, barium chloride is insoluble, this also forms, and similarly calcium nitrate, they form the corresponding aqua complexes. Okay. In these cases you will get hexa aqua compounds, okay. And those which react with water, calcium oxide, of course, when calcium oxide reacts with water, the product expected is calcium hydroxide, and strontium hydride when reacts with water, it gives strontium hydroxide as well. So, essentially one can answer in this fashion. Look into a couple of more questions I have given here. Suggest a structure for a dimer of beryllium chloride and explain how its formation illustrates beryllium chloride acting as a Lewis acid. I had already explained this one while discussing beryllium hydride structure. It has a one dimensional polymeric structure. Prior to the formation of BeCl2, what it does is it promotes one of the electron to the p orbital and undergoes sp3 hybridization to form 4 sp3 hybrid orbitals, okay, with 2 sp3 hybrid orbitals having 1 electron each, and there will be 2 sp3 having no electron. Simply one I will show here like this, 1 electron here and 2 no electron. Okay, and this will combine with chlorine S2P5. So, it forms now Cl, and now we have empty ones, and another one comes here, it arranges in this fashion. Okay, it continues like this. So, here now this lone pair is donated here. So, it forms now so it continues like this. So it continues like this. So, now basically what happens, this one, if we consider this portion, it acts as a Lewis base, okay, and this is electron deficient, this acts as Lewis acid. That means there is a mutual one portion, this one BeCl bond acts as Lewis base, whereas Be with sp3 having no electron acts as Lewis base, and so through this process what we get is one dimensional chain like structure. So, okay, there is one more question here. Reaction of a magnesium carbide with water gives propane. Okay, suggest a formulation of the carbide and give an example of a common gaseous molecule with which the carbide ion is isoelectronic. That means a magnesium carbide with water gives propane. So, the formation of propane indicates that the carbide should have 3 carbon atoms. Okay. So, that is the clue, you get it. Once you have the clue, simply balance the charge and consider a suitable composition. So, that means if it is given propane, there should be C3, and in order to balance this one should go for this one Mg2 C3, so that you can also write it and see whether this is balanced or not. Okay. So, now if you see the valency of all of them are balanced, this 2 plus, this 2 plus, all are 4 minus. So, it is taken care. So, now let me write like this here Mg2C3 plus water. Okay. So, when water is added, here one can get a compound like CH3, C, C, H. Okay, so this is taken care with the 2 equivalents of water and then plus 2 MgO. Okay, yes. So this is the answer for this one. So that what we get is 1 propyne. Answer is 1 propyne. So why does the solubility of alkaline earth metal hydroxides in water increases down the group? The size of anions being much larger compared to cations. The size of anions being much larger compared to cations, the lattice enthalpy will remain almost constant within a particular group. Since the hydration enthalpy is decreased down the group, solubility will decrease as found for alkaline earth metal carbonates and sulfates. But in case of hydroxides, it is a different thing happens. Among alkaline earth metal hydroxides, the anion being common, the cationic radius will influence the lattice enthalpy. Since lattice enthalpy decreases much more than the hydration enthalpy with increasing ion size, obviously the solubility increases as we go down the group. So let me summarize the chemistry of group 2 elements. And +2 oxygen state dominates among group 2 elements. All alkaline earth metals show low first and second ionization enthalpies, but they are relatively more compared to group 1 alkali metals and are most electropositive elements in the periodic table. Beryllium 2 plus ion, due to its smaller size and large charge to size ratio, form either covalent compounds or contain solvated ions, and its chemistry is little different from the rest of the elements in group 2. Group 2 metals form more stable coordination complexes compared to the group 1 metals, and alkaline earth metals form basic oxides similar to alkali metals. Due to the smaller size of beryllium 2 plus, beryllium oxide is amphoteric and it behaves more or less very similar to aluminum oxide. So with this I complete the chemistry of group 2 elements. In my next lecture I will be discussing about the chemistry of p block elements. To begin with, I will consider group 13 elements. Until then, have a pleasant reading of inorganic chemistry. Thank you very much.